All right, welcome back to this episode of the Giant Take Podcast. New York Giants 2024 NFL Mock Draft 3.0 with a twist with a trade, like I said. And we're going to start and get right into it as we normally do. Round one, pick 4. I thought we had the 6th pick, Alex. What's going on here? That's right, a trade in the first round. Last time we had Michael Penix going to the New York Giants late in the first round, trading back into the first round to pick the quarterback. This time, we get a quarterback bright and early. Pick 6, pick 70 in the third round, and then a third and a fifth round pick next year, traded to the Arizona Cardinals for pick 4 in this year's draft and pick 162 in the fourth round. And with that move up of 2 slots, the Giants get their quarterback of the future, quarterback Drake May out of North Carolina. Alex, I want to start, but I do want to go to you because you did make the trade originally. So I do want to get your thoughts on how this all went down. Go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously the clear top 3 that went was it was Caleb Williams, then Jaden Daniels. The Patriots end up going JJ McCarthy, and then the Giants see an opportunity, obviously, with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals obviously not really looking at a QB, which I do think would be interesting. Imagine they do take a QB, because obviously Kyler Murray, a solid quarterback, but definitely not someone who I think is unmovable. Imagine they did that and just kind of totally surprised everyone, but who knows? In this scenario, we're assuming they're not going to do that. They are looking at a receiver. They want to trade down. They want one of those top 2 receivers. So moving down only 2 spots is a lot more convincing for them. The Giants like Drake May, as we talked about a little bit in the intro. According to Ryan Dunleavy, according to a ton of different sources, and Drake May, he's really a great prospect. I mean, I'll get into him now because I kind of explained why the Giants did what they did. A really good athletic, really good athletic ability. He's got good size. He's 6'4". He's got really good speed as well, which is something that I guess isn't like super noticeable, but it's definitely something you do see flashes of in his game. He's got really great arm strength. He can throw outside the numbers. He can kind of move out of the pocket, make those off-platform throws, and he's relatively accurate as well. The only thing is that he struggles a little bit with pre-snap reads and just kind of figuring that side of the game out. And of course, as you develop into the NFL, that comes with coaching and that comes with experience. So hopefully something he can improve on. But I'll send it to Josh with the rest about him.
Yeah, I just have quick kind of pros for each of these players that we ended up drafting in this mock draft. And I'm going to make it super quick for Drake May. It's the arm strength, it's the accuracy alongside the arm strength, and also his frame. Drake May is 6'4", 230 pounds, I believe. And that is very good for a quarterback size. Able to kind of stay up when defenders and edge rushers and defensive tackles and linebackers are trying to get him down. When you have a 6'4" frame over 200 pounds, you're going to have a hard time getting that guy to the ground. In 2023, which actually 2022, I'll start with that because that was his better year. He had almost over 4,000 yards passing, almost 40 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And then 2023, 3,600 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And also, he's a little bit of a threat running the ball as well, 450 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns. So again, with this pick, we lose our third round pick. So just be mindful of that when we go into the third round. But then we have one in the fourth to keep your eye and ear out for. So again, just so everyone gets you notched in here. Round
in
one.
In the fifth, 162's in the fifth. Yeah,
162's in the fifth. I think it's a late fourth. Oh no! Sorry, we have another pick in the fourth round.
By the way, just making, I'm not sure the Giants would receive another pick in this year's draft, but I kind of made the trade in a way so we had the same number of picks. I don't know how the trade's actually going to go, but it's just another late round guy that we get to talk about, which I think is always a good thing for this mock. So I just wanted
to run through the trade one more time. So it's round 1, pick 4 we receive. Pick 6, pick 70, a third and a fifth next year go to the Cardinals. We get 4 and 162 in the fifth round, as Alex just clarified. Okay, a lot of confusing stuff there. Not really. Anyway, round 2, pick 47. So the Giants get their quarterback in the first round by trading up. They still have that pick in the pick 47 in the second round. What do they do with that? They get their wide receiver. Wide receiver Troy Franklin at Oregon, I think at this point in the draft is pretty good. Franklin is projected to go maybe early second round, late first round if wide receivers are really flying. So to get this prospect later than expected is pretty good. Alex, anything else on him?
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna say elite speed with him. He only ran I'm saying only, of course, this is a blistering quick time, but only a 4.41 40, which is I think a little bit slow for what you see on his tape actually. But a very, very quick player, especially down the field with his long speed. He's a really good route runner as well. He has a pretty good yard after catch ability, good agility as well, along with the speed, despite being 6'3". The negatives for him, contested catch guy, not going to be what you're looking at, despite that 6'3" tall frame. It's just not something that you really see. And then one other thing, just like he's not the best run blocker. He gets beaten a lot when he's asked to run block. And I know the Giants do ask the receivers to run block, pretty frequently. So that would be something he needs to improve on as well. But such a minimal issue that I don't think that really changes anything, at the receiver position for the Giants.
And along with what Alex was saying, elite speed and route running are the two pros that I have written down for Franklin. Along with his stats, 2022, 61 catches at 891 yards and 9 TDs. That improved in 2023 with 81 catches, so 20 more, over 1,000 yards receiving at 1,383, and 5 more touchdowns in this past season with 14. Okay, so no third round pick, right? We go from the second round, to the fourth round at pick 107. The Giants address another position of need. This one is offensive tackle Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, Fisher, he's really like one of those interesting prospects because he played directly opposite of Joe Alt at Notre Dame. A very, very good right tackle, but so overshadowed, I think, by Joe Alt that a lot of people aren't talking about him. But at this value in the fourth round, it's definitely really good. Someone who we even see mocked a little bit in the second sometimes, mostly the third round. He fell a little bit to the fourth here for us. Very good arm length. He's got good quickness and burst in the run game. He's a very, very good and physically imposing run blocker. He really, pushes people over, and he gets to the second level pretty well. And the only thing with him is that his footwork isn't great in the passing game, and that's something he's going to need to improve at. But a younger prospect as well. As I believe only 21 years old at this current time for a tackle, and he's just been very, very good for Notre Dame. And really, one of the big pros for him is the fact that he went to Notre Dame, obviously O-line university. So definitely a big positive for him. And I think he's a very solid player who really has gotten overshadowed, honestly, by Joe Alt. Not saying he's Joe Alt's level, but is a very, very solid player. And the Giants, if they're not going to draft a tackle early, we don't know what Evan Neal is going to look like. We don't really have a lot of depth at that position. And you slot him in at right tackle, and who knows, he could be very, very solid for us.
So what I wrote down for him is something that, again, Alex mentioned already, but initial quickness and burst off the line of scrimmage, physical and imposing presence as a run blocker as well, and height and frame too. You got to mention it when you're talking about an offensive lineman. 6'6", 310 pounds. When you're 6'6", it's going to be hard for an edge rusher or a linebacker again or a defensive tackle to get past you when you're that tall and that wide of a frame. Stats, you can't really talk about that many stats for an offensive lineman, but he did start 12 games at right tackle. So for anyone who's interested at what position he might play in the NFL, especially with the Giants, that's why Alex picked him. And that's why we go from round 4 to round 5 here. Pick 162, it's that pick that we got from the Arizona Cardinals, I believe. Running back Marshawn Lloyd, USC. We're going from another draft need to another draft need here. I mean, that is what the NFL draft is for, right? So now we got quarterback checked off the list along with wide receiver, offensive tackle, and now a running back.
Yeah, at this point, Lloyd was pretty much the last running back that I was interested in this draft class. So I was very desperate to get him. Luckily, he fell right in our laps. And he's an interesting player, more of a actual Devin Singletary mold in terms of his size and play. So I think that's kind of helpful in terms of having someone who can kind of develop off of Singletary and then hopefully move off of him, because obviously Singletary is not the long-term solution at running back. But yeah, Lloyd, he's really, really quick. His acceleration particularly allows him to really get by the line of scrimmage very quickly. And if he can make a quick cut, he can be gone. He's got that long run, home run speed. He's got some pretty decent potential also as a pass catcher. You see flashes of it. USC didn't use him a ton in the passing game, but there's definitely flashes. And then the only negative with him is that he doesn't really have as much power just due to his frame. And then sometimes you'll see there's open gaps and he just misses them. And that's something that's not super great either. And then obviously pass protection is not going to be great, again, given his size. But yeah, for someone at this point in the draft, he's got a lot of positives and a lot of upside.
I'll go into his stats right. Well, before I go into his stats, I feel like I'm just repeating Alex, but yeah, great acceleration and burst, and the home run long
You got to
speed that I have.
reemphasize, Josh.
For
It's
his
valid.
pros, there in 2022, 111 carries, 573 yards, 9 touchdowns, and then in the passing game, he was worked into as well. 18 catches, 176 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In 2023, only had 5 more carries than the previous year, but 300 more yards rushing at 820. Touchdowns stayed the same at 9, and then pass catching a little bit more, less catches, but a little bit more yards. 13 catches for 232 yards. And we move only 4 picks now, staying in round 5, going to the defensive side of the ball, which is our first pick, by the way, on the defense in this draft, on the defensive end, I should say, or whatever you want to call it. Round 5, pick 166, an edge rusher in Cedric Johnson out of LSU, or LSU just completely switching SEC teams out of Ole Miss.
I mean, at this point in the draft, Josh, you mentioned first defensive player. I was desperately trying to get a corner earlier in the draft. Just nothing really fell at the right value. Still nothing fell at the right value. But definitely want to go on the defense side of the ball. Obviously, Brian Burns has been added. You still have Azeez Ojulari. You have Kayvon Thibodeau. But you can always use another edge rusher. I forgot who said that. I think it was Dave Gettleman. He said you can never have enough edge rushers. I know we probably shouldn't be going after the Dave Gettleman ideology, but I think in this particular case, he might be right. Cedric Johnson, an interesting player by the fact that he's a little bit on the short side at just under 6'3", but he still has a pretty good frame and, bulky build that allows him to really, win with power at times. But his main way of winning is with speed. He's so quick around the edge, ran a 4.63 40. He's very savvy with just such quick get off, and that's something that you really like to see, and will give him already a pretty high floor at the NFL level. His physicality, we say he has some power, but he doesn't really leverage that power as effectively as he could against some of these bigger O linemen, some of which we're seeing in the NFL draft that are going so high. And then his hand use, his technique at times in the pass rush department is just not up to scratch. And that's why he's sitting here in the 5th round. So obviously you're not going to get a perfect player, but a very solid guy who I think could be a nice situational pass rusher for the Giants.
And again, he's out of Ole Miss. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking about the wide receiver pair of Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. too much right now, and that's why LSU is on my mind. But again, Cedric Johnson out of Ole Miss.
Close enough, right? No.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just mixing up SEC teams down south. It's all the same, right? No, not at all, actually. But for Johnson, people are going to yell at us. We apologize for all you SEC fans, especially Ole Miss fans. Fans of Johnson, because we're fans of Johnson too. That's why we have him picked here. Has the speed to win around the edge as a pass rusher. Good frame and thick build to go along with good movement skills. His stats over the past 2 seasons in 2022, 32 overall tackles, 4 sacks. In 2023, had 40 tackles, 3 passes deflected, 5.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. So you see the difference, how this past season he kind of became an all-around player, getting a bunch of different stats in a bunch of different areas. And the final pick in our final 2024 mock draft, round 6, pick 183, tight end Eric All out of Iowa.
Yeah, so at this point in the draft, I'm just looking best player available. I'm still desperate for a corner. No good corners are there. They keep getting taken right before my pick. So I was kind of upset about that. Giants really need a corner, and something I wasn't able to get in this draft, unfortunately, but you can't win at every position, clearly. And if there's no guy that falls at the right spot for the Giants, I don't expect them to take a corner either. So I just kind of acted as if I was them, if that makes sense. He's got really good hands. He's a pretty good route runner as well. Doesn't have the most like amazing athletic ability, especially his like long speed. He's not going to beat anyone over the top. His routes against zone coverage, he gets a little bit confused, which is something you can see. But in man to man, he can definitely beat a linebacker, whatever it may be. And he's got pretty good yards after catch. Like he wins those tough yards. When you're say 2nd and 10 and he catches an 8-yard pass, he'll get you those extra 2 yards. And that's something, that grit and determination is something that you're kind of really looking for in a player, down lower in the draft, because, these are guys that are kind of back into the roster, fighting for a roster spot. And you want those really gritty guys to fight every day in camp to make the roster. And I think All is one of those guys.
Yeah, and a Michigan transfer after he stayed at Michigan for 4 years, didn't really do anything there, wasn't playing, so instead decided for his final year to transfer to Iowa, which he does have good yards after catch, Allison, quick bursts. I mean, that's why he's a 6th-round pick, not much to show for it. Only 21 catches this year for about 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I feel like that's what you're looking at here late in this 6th round. And that does it for our final mock draft of the 2020.
Josh, I'm about to cry. Our final mock draft
off season. I'll go through one more time. Round 1, pick 4 due to a trade. Quarterback Drake May out of North Carolina. Round 2, pick 47. Wide receiver Troy Franklin out of Oregon. I'm struggling today. Round 4, pick 107. Offensive tackle Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame. Round 5, pick 162. Running back Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. Round 5, pick 166, edge rusher Cedric Johnson out of Ole Miss. Round 6, pick 183, tight end Eric All, Iowa.